Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. So yesterday I introduced you to the Cricut Maker 3 and the Cricut Explore 3. And today I want to introduce you to a new accessory that's being released for both of these new machines. And that accessory is the Cricut Roll Holder for the Smart materials. So Cricut is coming out with Smart Iron-On and Smart Vinyl for the new machines that will cut without a mat. So when you're cutting without a mat and you're cutting these huge rolls of vinyl and iron-on, you might want something to help hold them and feed them into the machine. And that's where the roll holder comes in. So this is an attachment and an accessory for the machines. You do not have to have it to cut without a mat. You can cut without a mat with no roll holder attached to your machine. But if you want that added convenience, I especially love the cutter that is on the roll holder so I can cut my material off after it's done. So when you're cutting without a mat, it's going to be extremely important that you keep the end of your vinyl or iron-on super straight for feeding into your machine. This roll holder is a great way to do that. Makes it super simple, super easy to just run that across there and cut. So now you're thinking, I really need to know more about this, right? So let's take a look. Let's get this out of the box, take a look at how it attaches to the machine, and then let's make some cuts. All right, let's unbox and install this roll holder. So this is what it looks like in the box, and it holds the Smart Vinyl and Smart Iron-On materials from Cricut, and you can find those in boxes that look like the ones shown. So we're gonna unbox this and I'm gonna install it on a Cricut Maker. Remember that this is for the Cricut Maker 3 or Cricut Explore 3. So you can use it for either one and it installs in a similar manner on both machines. So before we install this, let's take a closer look. So there are rollers in this bottom tray, and that's what your roll is going to sit on, and it will allow it to feed into your machine. This part is a cutter, so you can cut off the excess when your machine is done cutting. And then let's flip it over. You'll see a few pads for it to rest on your table, as well as a couple of guides. So these guides are what is going to install it on your machine. These guides go over the guides on your tray on either your Maker 3 or Explore 3. Here's a close-up of that tray on my Maker 3, and I just take the roll feeder, line up the guides on both sides, and just push the roll feeder into place. Then once you have it on these guides, you're going to want to make sure it's pushed up all the way, and you may be able to kind of see it fall a little bit, and then just kind of squeeze on both sides, and it locks into place a little bit. You can still just sort of pop it off, but it does lock into place just a little bit, so I just kind of squeeze both sides. And now that it's in place, I have a 21-foot roll of Smart Vinyl, and you can just drop that into the tray on those rollers on the inside like we talked about. And then you're going to want to feed it into this little hole here. And you're going to make sure this is all the way to the left or all the way to the right, so out of your way. And then just push it in and feed it in. And you may be able to see it coming through on this back side, and that's what you want. It's loading into your machine. And then if you just keep pushing, it will kind of load up under the guides on both sides. That's why it's important to press it down, lock it into place so that it goes under those guides on its own and all the way up against the rollers. So now that we have this roll holder on the machine, let's make some cuts. We are going to cut vinyl. We're going to cut some iron-on as well. Let's take a look at some of those long cuts, how the roll holder handles those, and what it's going to look like when you use this accessory at home on your machine. Okay, something I wanted to note because I ran into this. So I had attached my roll feeder in one position and I wanted to move it to get a better shot for this portion of the video, and the machine is difficult to move with the roll feeder still attached. So you kind of have to install it again if you move the machine. So I did want to note that just in case you're going to be installing it somewhere and want to move your machine, just wait until you get your machine in location, then put the roll feeder on. So now our light is blinking, so I'm just going to kind of hold the material and press the button, and you can see it just feeds in, and it's going to check and make sure that I have enough material to make this long cut. And then it's gonna feed back onto the roll. But you can see it doesn't roll up again when it feeds back. And it's checking to make sure I have all that 32 inches. And it's gonna come back like this. So it doesn't roll back onto the roll. It comes back off of the roll, I guess I would call it that. And now it's ready to cut. So it's checked to make sure I have enough material. It's ran it through. And now I can press the go button. And it will cut my material. Now remember, the Maker 3 is twice as fast when cutting smart materials. This is gonna cut super fast. It's a super quick and easy project, and you can really watch it cut super fast on these letters. So you can see, even though this material was off of the roll, it cuts it fine with the roll feeder attached. So even though it unrolled it all, it is fine. And now the cut is done. You'll notice the cut is done, and I have the load unload button flashing, but the material is still all the way in the machine. Why is that? Because right now would be a great time to cut your material off straight. That's why there's a cutter directly on the roll feeder. It's very important for the smart materials to be straight on the end when you feed them into the machine, regardless if you use the roll feeder or not. So this makes it super convenient, so I can just cut my roll, and then I can press the unload button. And now it's unloading my material separate from my roll, and it's all cut off. And now I can just pull that out. And my roll is still in my roll feeder. I can just repeat the same process, feeding it into this area for my next project. The other thing about the roll feeder is these really huge rolls of vinyl. You can store it directly in the roll feeder. So we can take this off of our machine and just store this entire thing. Really quickly, even though that cut really fast, the cuts are perfect. Everything looks great. And the smart vinyl is super easy to weed. So I'll just go ahead and weed this project, and then I can continue to make a hello sign if I would like with my smart vinyl materials. While we're talking about the roll feeder and experimenting, let's try it with a roll of smart iron-on. So I'm going to go ahead and feed this into my machine. And I did want to note, so the roll feeder itself can handle up to a 75-foot roll. I'm not putting one that large in it today, but it can handle ones that large. I have mirrored my design, and I've chosen glitter iron-on as my setting. And we're going to cut that same hello design just because I had it pulled up on my machine. So you could make like a banner out of fabric or whatever with a longer iron-on design with smart iron-on. So once again, it's ready. So I will click the go button, and it will start cutting my smart iron-on in the same way that it cut my smart vinyl off of the roll feeder. So you'll notice, again, it fed it all the way out and off of the roll, but now it will pull that back in after it's measured the right amount and cut my smart iron-on in the same way. Again, it's just as fast. All smart materials cut at that 2 times speed. So you will notice it's super fast to cut and will be done within a couple of seconds. And now that it's done, once again, I'm going to use that cutter on the roll feeder to cut the material. Then I'm going to press unload. And there we have iron-on cut with the roll feeder with the Cricut Maker 3. So you can see my design here, that I went ahead and weeded it just so you could see how it looks and that the cuts were fine with the smart iron-on. All right, so I hope you're ready to cut without a mat using either the Cricut Maker 3 or the Cricut Explore 3. Once again, This video was shot with the Cricut Maker 3, but this roll holder fits both machines and it operates in the same way on both machines. So this video is applicable for both. So if you have any questions about anything we've covered, the roll holder, how it attaches, smart materials, feel free, drop down in the comment section, ask away. I have a video on the Cricut Maker 3 as well as the Cricut Explore 3, and I will drop links for those below so you can go and watch those if you have questions about the machine itself. If you learned something new, like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos like this every single week, and you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.